Okay, so now, brothers, this is going to be footage of the detainment of Mr. Eric Holder, the alleged assassin of the now slain, once famous Nipsey Hussle. And one has to ask oneself, if you're Eric Holder and you happen to be the person who gunned down someone as famous and as infamous as Nipsey Hussle, why would you not jettison yourself as far away from that environment as possible? Why would you set yourself up to be detained at a mental health facility unless, and it's very obvious to me, that was the drop-off point, that was the rendezvous point for Eric Holder after he completed his mission. He had to go there and get debriefed by the psychologist or psychiatrist on staff who had programmed him to commit the act that he committed. And after he did so, he made himself available to be detained and arrested. Job well done. It was completed. It was finished. So let's see what happens in this footage here. The man's being let out. No muss, no fuss, no thugging. Isn't that interesting? Brothers, once again, many Manchurian candidates, i.e. sleeper assassins, are created in these penitentiaries as well as these mental health facilities. The assassins are instructed on exactly how they're going to commit the act on the target. The potential assassins are informed on how exactly they're going to complete the mission, in what manner, with what weapon, at what time, how many bullets, so on and so forth, because they have to fulfill a certain ritual. And it's literally perfect because once the task is completed, the asset loses all memory of exactly what they were programmed with until they encounter their programmer or their handler who's able to access their data bank through a trigger word or a trigger color or what have you. And once they get debriefed, they get sent to prison as the perfect patsy.
Now, brothers, this is going to be footage of the LAPD police commissioner trying to perpetuate the Nipsey Hussle Christ consciousness programming on the so-called black communities, especially the quote-unquote hood aspect of the so-called black community, by alleging that Nipsey Hussle had reached out to him to try to better the dynamic, the relationship between the quote-unquote hood and the police departments. According to him, Nipsey Hussle was trying to organize some type of convention or meeting of the minds between himself and the LAPD to find out how they were going to assist the children in the hood, as well as how they were going to quote-unquote lessen crime. Do I buy this storyline? No, I do not. Not even a little bit. Why the hell would Nipsey Hussle be asking the police department how they can assist him in lessening crime in the so-called black community when he was part of the problem as a so-called Crip? At the end of the day, if you want to get rid of crime, we have to help get rid of gangs. And on top of that, he made his fortune trying to capitalize off of the quote-unquote gangster mentality or the quote-unquote gangster lifestyle. So why would he be involved with something like that? It makes no sense whatsoever. Unless this person, the police commissioner, is trying to imply that Nipsey Hussle was working with the police force, and this is just his way of trying to mock Nipsey after his death. But as we listen, we're going to see that he is going to mock Nipsey Hussle to a certain degree with some of the statements that he makes. But once again, brothers, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that whenever every major faction speaks well about someone, it's normally because they're a pawn and they're trying to use them for some type of political favor or political gain. You'll notice that all of these celebrities are claiming to know Nipsey Hussle, like they grew up with him, went to school with him, so on and so forth. Everybody talking about R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle. He was some type of leader. No, he was not a leader. No disrespect. Cats might get upset by this. It's okay. You can't be a member of a street gang that has been involved in the death and incarceration of thousands of so-called black men over the last 40 years or so, and then tell me about how much of a leader this person is. Number two, he was not even a so-called black man of the captivity. A lot of people do not understand that. Number three, once again, no disrespect, but he joined a gang because he had nothing else better to do. And he tells you that himself. He joined a gang because he had nothing else better to do. You cannot be a leader if you don't know how to even lead yourself. So let's hear what the police commissioner here has to say.
My emails yesterday, and I found the original email requesting from Nipsey and Rock Nation, requesting to me to set up a meeting with the chief. And I'm going to read it to you. dated February 26th. Our goal is to work with the department to help improve communication, relationships, and work towards changing the culture and dialogue between LAPD and the inner city.
Now, the police commissioner states that according to the letter, Nipsey said that he wants to change the culture and the dialogue when it comes to the rapport between the LAPD and the people of the inner city. I can guarantee you that the hardworking, intelligent people of the inner city could care less about the dynamic between them and the police force. You know why? Because they're too busy getting their life together. They're too busy doing what they have to do every day to be better people and to raise their families. It's always quote-unquote hood dudes who want to concentrate on the police and what the police protocols are and what they're doing. Are the police racist? Is there a racist element in the police force? Absolutely. Is that the number one problem in the so-called black community? Absolutely not. It's not top 10. It's probably not even top 15. When you're a dude who's handling your business, going about your life every day, making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, being a leader for your family and for yourself, so on and so forth, you're not concerned about what the police are talking about, man. You're not concerned. A lot of our people have this energy imbued in them from the previous generation. And unless you have parents that broke that mold and operate on a higher level and know how to grind and teach you how to grind and work for what you want in life, you're going to fall prey to all that police are trying to kill me. Every time I step outside my house, I have to be scared of the police. All that bullshit. I mean, give me a break. At the end of the day, the real element that has to be removed from the so-called black community is the drug dealing, gang member culture, because that's what's destroying our people. Gang lifestyle, selling drugs, leads to shooting one another, leads to incarceration. Those are the real issues, not the police force. So I seriously doubt if Nipsey Hussle even wrote this letter. I believe that this is more cult of personality building around him so that Atlantic Records can maximize record sales, so that the LAPD, who are probably getting a cut from Atlantic Records, who the hell knows? Either way, Nipsey Hussle was removed to fulfill a certain sacrificial aspect of the record industry, which is nothing but a witch coven. That's all it is. And we're going to see later on in this video that Nipsey Hussle was sacrificed to the moon goddess. Believe it or not, I know that it sounds far-fetched, but we'll see as this video proceeds.
We want to hear about your new programs and your goals for the department, as well as...
Now, brothers, do you really believe that Nipsey Hussle stated that he wants to hear the goals of the LAPD? And what was he going to do with that information? Take it back to the hood and get them to accept the LAPD saying what they're saying? I don't believe it. This is BS, and a lot of people have a lot invested in trying to create positive energy around Nipsey Hussle because they've all been promised to make a lot of money. I promise you that. Nipsey Hussle was someone who was a fly in the ointment. He was trying to vacillate in between being signed to a major record label and also producing his own music and owning his own masters and selling his own music, and they could not have that. Because if you have these other artists start to say to themselves, I'm not going to sign to a major label, I'm not going to abide by the rules of the music industry that have lasted for decades, now the music industry starts to lose money. With the way that the internet is now, you can become a celebrity through the internet. You don't need major record labels anymore. The major record labels still have the mystique, though. They have the promise of the Grammys and all these other award shows. When you don't care about that shit, I mean, what do you really need them for?
How we can help stop gang violence and help you help kids.
Look at how the police commissioner, he got all dramatic when he looked up. He said that Nipsey said in the letter, I want to know how to help stop gang violence. Nipsey Hussle, you were a member of a gang. Why would he even write something like that? Who believes this bullshit?
So, takes time to set up meetings. We did. It was set up for yesterday. And the chief called me on Sunday. And This was 15 minutes after that Nipsey Hussle had been assassinated and murdered. This horrible...
Isn't that something? 15 minutes after they got the meeting all set for Nipsey, he gets the news that Nipsey Hussle's been assassinated. Wow, isn't that a coincidence?
Thing happened one day before we were going to have this meeting. Why couldn't we have had the meeting the day before instead?
Hey, brothers, are you paying attention to that? The police commissioner, he said, why couldn't the meeting have happened one day before this event occurred? He didn't say, why couldn't we have stopped Nipsey from getting killed? He said, why could we have had the meeting a day before Nipsey got killed? That's what I mean when I say they're mocking this dude. And they're mocking a lot of you guys who are fans and idolaters of Nipsey Hussle as well.
The day after. So the meeting will happen. It will happen when Rock Nation and Nipsey's family will come together. And I promise you, whether...
Now, the police commissioner said that the meeting will happen. It's going to happen when Nipsey's family and Rock Nation come together. So, in other words, Jay-Z is going to sit in for Nipsey. And this is going to be a way for him to try to accrue more clout in the LA area. Brothers, none of this shit makes any sense whatsoever unless you grasp it from the esoteric or the occultic perspective. That's it. It's going to be Jay-Z, Lauren London, and Nipsey Hussle's fake wannabe philosopher mother at a meeting with the police commissioner of LA talking about a whole lot of nonsense. How to quote-unquote stop gang violence. Unfortunately, the gang culture runs through the veins of the inhabitants of LA and many of the major cities on the West Coast. It's never going to stop, and everybody knows that it's never going to stop. Gang culture, crip culture, blood culture has replaced the real actual culture of the so-called black man. And anything that man created is never going to live up to what God stipulated. So until the so-called black man learns to embrace his real culture, he's going to continue to be compelled to kill his own brother. That's the bottom line of it. You can come together with all your fake conventions and your fake meetings and so on and so forth, all that pretense. It's still going to be the same violence.
From the upper levels of this or from the bottom level of this, that I want to help do what he wanted to do.
This guy's full of shit. He says he wants to help with what Nipsey Hussle wanted to do. If you wanted to help with what Nipsey Hussle wanted to do, you would not have needed Nipsey Hussle to allegedly send you a letter on how the LAPD is going to help black children to stop gang violence. The last thing that Nipsey Hussle was concerned about was stopping gang violence, because if he was truly as ingrained in the crip culture as he alleges himself to be, and as much as many other people allege him to have been, he would know that shit is not going to stop. That's a major cultural aspect of Los Angeles, and it's not going to stop.
So, brothers, I just want to go over certain visual themes that I see and how Nipsey Hussle chose to depict himself as his career started to transpire. As we can see here on the cover of this album or this mixtape, Nipsey Hussle Bullets Ain't Got No Names. Sounds real positive. According to to many of the wokey woke Negroes out there, they claim that Nipsey Hussle was such a positive aspect in the so-called black community. The name of his album is Bullets Ain't Got No Names. So in other words, anybody can catch that hot lead. I'm just saying that's how I interpret the title of this album. And I have no problem with that. If that's how you cast yourself, in the same way, when you watch a film, Martin Scorsese, you know what you're going to get when you go to see most of his movies. You're going to see a lot of blood, a lot of violence, right? Back in the day, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when they created their quote-unquote art, it was with a lot of violence. Certain rappers are violence depicting rappers. I have no issue with that. But then don't come back and tell me about how you want to be a transformative aspect in the so-called black community, because this type of energy is not going to have anything to do with the reclamation of the so-called black community. But just to get back to the point, we see the theme of Blue, of course. He's a quote-unquote Crip. And as I stated in the main video on Nipsey Hussle, that's Luciferianism. The blood-Crip dichotomy is Luciferianism. The red versus the blue. And it's very difficult for people to grasp this. It's not just about gangs. It's a spiritual, but when I say spiritual on the left-hand side, esoteric dynamic, where it's the sun versus Saturn, and they're in constant conflict with one another. So now we move forward to this mixtape, The Marathon, which has become very infamous because many of Nipsey Hussle's worshipers, they love using this term, the marathon or the marathon continues. But we see a different theme here. We see black, white, and red, which is normally used, as I always state repetitively on this channel. You see that color scheme of black, white, and red for witches, because that is for the black mass, for the venerators of Pan or the goat god. And that's why I state that as soon as he decided that he was going to have his last album published through Atlantic Records, a major record company, he pretty much let it be known that he was willing to put his own neck up on the sacrificial altar. Here's the album, The Marathon Continues. We see the same theme, black, white, and red. Brothers have to pay very close attention. I mean, from a two-dimensional perspective, you might ask, if he's a Crip, why would he have the color red as a major theme on the cover of his album? But this has nothing to do with the gang perspective. This has to do with the occultic or the Luciferian perspective. That being that in order for you to be recognized for a Grammy or for you to be nominated for anything like that, you have to be a witch. You have to be a witch. Now, this image right here, or this color scheme, this outfit, was something that I noted in the main video. That being, once again, the black, the white, and the red. And they chose to use this photo as a promotional photo. Why is that? Because he happens to be throwing up the quote-unquote Manu Cornuto hand sign, or the hand sign for the goat god, in this photo. I'm not saying that it's on purpose, but it is by happenstance at the very least. And once again, when paired in tandem with this color scheme, what they're trying to communicate to those in the know is that Nipsey Hussle was within the coven. He was within the quote-unquote craft. And if he decided to rebel from any of the tenets of the craft, he was putting his neck on that sacrificial altar. And I believe that they decided to remove him on March 31st for the Mother Goddess, but we're going to cover that a little bit later. So now, brothers, I just wanted to include this photograph of Miss or Mr. Issa Rae, i.e. Isaac Rae, as I call her. Look at this photo, brothers. Now, isn't the death of Nipsey Hussle supposed to be a tragedy of some sort? She appeared on the CBS Morning News and acted as if she was extremely disheartened and melancholy over the demise of Nipsey Hussle. But look at this photo. She has on a t-shirt depicting the profile of Nipsey Hussle with his birth date to his death date, 33 years old. We know that that has a high degree of resonance on both the left hand and the right hand side. And she's throwing up the horned hand sign. And she's smirking. And has her face tilted to the side as if to imply that she knows something that others don't know. Once again, brothers, who does that? Who puts on a t-shirt depicting someone that you're extremely sad is no longer here on this plane of existence, and you're smirking in the photo, and you're throwing up those two hand signs? What do those hand signs have to do with Nipsey Hussle? Unless those hand signs are meant to convey something to those who are meant to grasp it. Now, as many of you brothers know who follow hip-hop hard body, this was the cover of Nipsey Hussle's last album, Victory Lap. And once again, we see the same themes of black, white, and red. Hopefully you brothers are starting to grasp this so that you can pay more attention to it when you see it in the future. In the recording industry, they're witches, and they utilize that color scheme of black, white, and red because that's meant to be in association or to show an affinity for the goat god Pan. The black and the white are the bringing together of opposing forces, and the red represents the blood sacrifice. Okay? So Nipsey Hussle, I don't believe that he knew that his time was coming to an end. But many times when they have these photo shoots, the artist is put in positions to take photographs that are meant to predict the artist's future, whether it be their demise or their come up, whatever you want to call it. But it was very obvious to me in the aftermath of the decision by the craft to remove Nipsey Hussle that the term Victory Lap was meant to be an allusion to the Mother Goddess, because once again the Roman name for the goddess of war was victory or Victoria. We all know that the term victory lap comes from the concept of someone winning a race. And then you take a victory lap after the race with the checkered flag. The checkered flag is what? It's also the checkerboard of quote-unquote masonry or Luciferianism, which is meant to denote or convey the opposites coming together. So once again, we always see that theme of black and white and red as well. But once again, I believe that the album was called Victory Lap because that was the first attempt to allude in some maybe circuitous way that Nipsey Hussle was going to be taken out in honor of the Mother Goddess. And that also would explain why Issa Rae had that smirk on her face, because she is a venerator of the Mother Goddess. But let's go a little bit deeper, because I'm sure that there are people who are saying to themselves, what is this guy talking about? No problem. Now, brothers, this is the quote-unquote moon goddess Selene, as she was known in Greek. In Rome, she was known as Luna. That's where we get the term lunar from, like lunar eclipse. This is the person, once again, who Nipsey Hussle was sacrificed to. And he's not the only celebrity to have been sacrificed by the craft to the quote-unquote moon goddess. But let's prove it. Let's delve into some of these aspects. And as you can see on top of her head, it appears to be horns. It's not a horn, or it's not horns. It's actually a crescent moon, because she was always aligned to the moon. The mother goddess was always aligned to the moon. When I say the quote-unquote mother goddess or the moon goddess is really just an aspect of the quote-unquote mother goddess. Because whether it was Isis or Ishtar or Inanna or Aphrodite or whatever, it's all talking about the same entity. It's just that they have different aspects. So sometimes it's a goddess of war, sometimes it's a goddess of victory, of the moon, of magic. It's all the same, sort of same entity. Now this right here is a cartoonish depiction of the quote-unquote moon goddess Selene and the horn god Pan, who is the quote-unquote god of the recording industry. But Selene is best known for taking a lover by the name of Endymion, spelled, if I remember correctly, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, D as in David, Y, M as in Michael, I-O-N. That is the role that Nipsey Hussle played on March 31st, with Lauren London playing the anthropomorphic aspect, or the fleshly aspect of the moon goddess. We're going to get to it. I'm just laying the groundwork right now. But once again, please understand that the consort of Selene, or the moon goddess, has always been recognized to be Pan, but the most famous story of Selene is with Endymion. We're going to get to it in a moment. Okay, so brothers, as I've stated, Nipsey Hussle was sacrificed to the quote-unquote moon goddess Selene. That was her Greek name. In Rome, she was known as Luna. So let's perform an inquiry into the Temple of Luna, which was the temple, of course, that was dedicated to the moon goddess. It's going to say the Temple of Luna was a temple on the Aventine Hill in Rome, dedicated to Luna, the moon goddess. Its dedication was celebrated on March 31st, or the 31st of March. According to Tacitus, who was a great Roman historian, it was built by King Servius Tullius. However, the first confirmed reference to a temple to Luna dates to 182 BC and refers to one of its doors being knocked off of its post by a miraculous blast of air and shot into the back of the Temple of Siri. The Temple of Siri, once again, is talking about the same mother goddess. The only difference is that Siri, or Demeter, was viewed as being the goddess of grain. She was also the goddess of the horse. So they had two separate temples, basically right next to each other, both for two different aspects of the mother goddess. That account probably places the temple at the north end of the hill, just above Porta Trigemina. The temple was struck by lightning around the time of the death of Selena, as was the temple of Siri. After the destruction of Corinth, Lucius Mummius Achaicus dedicated some of his spoils from the city to this temple. It was destroyed in the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD and not rebuilt. So the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD is the fire that was allegedly started by Nero and blamed on the Jews who dwelt in Rome. But let's just get back to the point. The Temple of Luna. Once again, its dedication was celebrated on March 31st. Let's click on Luna. Luna, the goddess. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Luna is the divine embodiment of the moon. She is often presented as the female complement of the sun, Sol, conceived of as a god. Luna is also sometimes represented as an aspect of the Roman triple goddess, Diva Triformis, along with Proserpina and Hecate. This is what I've been telling you, brothers. The concept of the mother goddess is based on different aspects of the same entity. It's not like there are 5 million mother goddesses or 5 million female goddesses. They're all different aspects of the same primordial entity, whether it be Eve or Semiramis. That's who the concept of the mother goddess is based on, the veneration of Eve or Semiramis. Luna is not always a distinct goddess, but sometimes rather an epithet that specializes a goddess, since both Diana and Juno are identified as moon goddesses. You understand that, brothers? So once again, the concept of the mother goddess is based on various characteristics or manifestations of her power, her quote-unquote power, in whatever dynamic at the moment, whether it be the moon or the grain or the planet Venus or the Sirius star, so on and so forth. That's the point. So as I've covered in previous videos, Proserpina or Persephone was the quote-unquote queen of the damned or the queen of the underworld. Hecate was the quote-unquote goddess of witchcraft and also, as stated, of the moon. Diana is the quote-unquote goddess of wisdom and of the hunt. Juno was the goddess that was associated with the dove or the quote-unquote Holy Spirit, so on and so forth. But what this article is accurately stating is that those are all just different manifestations of the same entity or the same idea. Now, brothers, I just want to cover this concept of Endymion and Selene. That is the role that Nipsey Hussle and Lauren London played in the industry. And once again, I'm sure that it's difficult for brothers to grasp this right now, but be patient. I just want to read through this biography of the mythological character known as Endymion. It says, Endymion in Greek mythology, a beautiful youth who spent much of his life in perpetual sleep. Endymion's parentage varies among the different ancient references and stories, but several traditions say that he was originally the king of Elis. According to one tradition, Zeus offered him anything that he might desire, and Endymion chose an everlasting sleep in which he might remain youthful forever. Let me say this, brothers, that's one of the main concepts of the hero cult. The Greco-Roman concept of the hero cult is that when you're killed when you're young, you're remembered forever. You understand? You're mythologized, you're lionized. See Bruce Lee, see Tupac, see Biggie Smalls, so on and so forth, Marvin Gaye, the list goes on and on. And the entertainment industry has mastered this concept because the entertainment industry, they operate according to the dictates of the Greco-Roman mythological world, the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system, etc. They operate according to those same energies. So when you want to get the answer for certain things that have transpired in the entertainment industry or what's presented on television, the answers often lie within the Luciferian aspect or these quote-unquote pagan mythological aspect. But let's continue on. According to another version of the myth, Endymion's eternal sleep was a punishment inflicted by Zeus because he had attempted to have a sexual relationship with Zeus's wife Hera. In any case, Endymion was loved by Selene, the goddess of the moon, who visited him every night while he lay asleep in a cave on Mount Latmus in Caria. She bore him 50 daughters. A common form of the myth represents Endymion as having been put to sleep by Selene herself so that she might enjoy his beauty undisturbed. Brothers, I've already said, am I saying that Lauren London knew that he was going to be taken out? I'm not saying that necessarily, but if that's the case, it would not surprise me at all. And we're going to touch on that in a moment. Now, brothers, for those of you who've been patient enough to listen to me go through a lot of the mythological, the pagan mythological rambling that I do to try to create context for you brothers, this is an ancient depiction of the quote-unquote goddess Selene. And Selene was always depicted as riding upon a white horse side saddle. Why is that, brothers? Because the white horse And the mother goddess figure atop the white horse was what was known as a psychopomp, spelled P as in Peter, S as in Sam, Y as in yellow, C as in Charlie, H as in Howard, O as in Oscar, P as in Peter, O as in Oscar, M as in Michael, P as in Peter. It's a psychopomp, meaning basically a spirit guide from the physical world to the netherworld or the underworld. There are various versions of the psychopomp. One of them is the mother goddess atop the white horse. The white horse represents death. Okay? So, whenever you see, like, for example, if you look at Beyonce Knowles' video for Sweet Dreams, there was a part where Beyonce was standing under the rainbow with her two background dancers, and there was a white horse that rode behind her. Why is that? Because they were showing you that Beyonce is a mother goddess archetype in the record industry. Okay? So whenever you see the white horse, that's a symbol, that's a psychopomp, that's representative of oncoming death and demise. And the person atop the white horse represents the mother goddess of death. Okay? So right here, when we see Selene, Selene was always depicted riding atop the white horse side saddle. In other cultures, she was known under different names. For example, in the Celtic mythology, she was known as Rhiannon, spelled R as in Roger, H as in Harry, I as in India, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, O as in Oscar, N as in Nancy. Certain brothers might be saying, I'm sure that some of you brothers out there are saying, Rhiannon, that sounds like Rihanna. Yes. Yes. Do I believe that Rihanna's name is a direct allusion to or association with the goddess Rhiannon? Yes, I do. Rhiannon was known as the horse goddess. She was always atop the horse. Another name was Epona, spelled E as in Edward, P as in Peter, O as in Oscar, N as in Nancy, A as in Apple. That was the Gaulish version, or the old French version of the mother goddess on top of the horse. Okay, always representing oncoming death atop the white horse. Some of you brothers who are a little bit smarter, I'm sure that you know where I'm heading with this by now. Now, brothers, remember what I stated. The mother goddess of the moon, Selene, she was always depicted riding side saddle on a white horse. This is Lady Gaga riding side saddle on a white horse, on a fictional white horse, at some type of award ceremony on the red carpet, being led by a man dressed in all white. Why is that? Because she's representing Rhiannon or Epona or Selene. She's representing the goddess of death. You understand that? That's the ritual that they play out. Once again, the masses, they watch these ceremonies and these rituals, and they think to themselves, oh, wow, that's cool. I like her outfit. Or, oh, wow, look, she's on a horse. That's real nice. No, they're playing out a ritual. Okay? This is Miley Cyrus, also atop the white horse. Now, Miley Cyrus was raised up in the Disney programming, and her father was her handler, Billy Ray Cyrus. Okay? That's why both of his children, I believe that he has two daughters, both of them have been grafted into the entertainment industry because they were raised up through the programming. Please keep in mind that one of the components of the programming is sexual ritualistic abuse as a child. And there are some very risque photos of Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus pictured together. I'll leave it at that. But just to get back to the point, as we can see here, she's going through the Selene ritual, or the mother goddess ritual. Even when you look up Demeter, the god of the harvest, or the goddess of the harvest, pardon me, they tell you that she also has a horse goddess altar. Okay, once again, that is a psychopomp altar, meaning a spirit guide to the netherworld, to the world of the dead. This is the infamous show Game of Thrones. As we can see here, the female character next to her white horse. And it's so funny. I hear so many women now talking about Game of Thrones. And it's very obvious because that mother goddess energy is very pervasive on that show. As we can see here, this character represents Selene as a psychopomp, a goddess of death. Here we see the theme of black, red, and white. This is not a famous actress. This is just a model. But once again, they're depicting her riding side saddle on the white horse because she's supposed to be Selene. She's supposed to be the mother goddess of death. This is a close-up of Lady Gaga. And no, this is not just some fashion, some fashion trick that she's doing here, or she's being experimental with how she dresses, so on and so forth with her style. No, she's playing out a ritual. This is Beyonce playing Epona or Rhiannon or Selene atop the white horse. You see how they have all of the famous female celebrities doing the same ritual over and over and over again? This is Zendaya. Zendaya is a semi-famous young actress in Hollywood. She was just in Spider-Man Homecoming. She's a big-time Luciferian also, but that's a whole other video for another day. Point being is this, as we can see here, she's atop the white horse. To show you once again, she's viewed as a goddess level figure in Hollywood. This means that they have big plans for her. When they put the female atop the white horse, that means that they have plans for them. Okay? Because they've already been accepted in the craft as a proverbial goddess. This is that model, Emily Ratajkowski, or whatever her name is. This broad is always butt-ass naked, but they put her atop the white horse. So you know what she is. She's someone who's willing to do anything with anybody. Supposedly she's married, but she was at the Laker game a while ago, dressed half naked, trying to seduce LeBron James. So you know she gets around. A lot of these people, these models and these actresses in Hollywood, they're not who you think they are. A lot of them are just sex slaves. That's it. That's all they are sex slaves. This is Madonna, one of the high priestesses of the entertainment industry. Once again, playing the role of Epona or Rhiannon or Selene, riding the white horse. She's the goddess of death. This is Taylor Swift with her single, White Horse. Are you brothers starting to understand this? You see she has on the all white as Selene. She's playing Selene. She's playing Demeter, right? Demeter was the goddess of the grain. One of her altars was also as the goddess of the horse, because Demeter, Isis, Selene, it's all talking about the same entity. Okay? That's why you notice Miley Cyrus, where did she take her photograph? She was also in the field. Here, Taylor Swift taking her photograph in the field. So, brothers, we finally get to bring it home. We finally get to bring it home. You see this? And you know what's funny? I saw this interview on the internet, the GQ interview with Lauren London and Nipsey Hussle. I saw it like 2 weeks before they took this dude out. And I said to myself, this photo is very interesting. But I left it alone, because until something manifests, you just leave it alone. But after he was removed, I went back to it. I said, oh, that's what they were saying. They were saying that they're going to remove him because they have Lauren London playing the role of the goddess of death, Selene. He is proverbial Endymion. That's why I went back and I read the mythological tale of Selene and Endymion. Right, brothers? I know that it comes off as long-winded sometimes, but I like to create a context so that cats understand where I'm coming from. Are we clear? I hope that we're clear on this. The craft is governed by the quote-unquote Babylonian Egyptian mystery school system. When the mystery school system found its way to Greece and Rome, that's where we get the Greco-Roman mythologies from. That's where we get the Bacchanalian mysteries from. That's where we get the Eleusinian mysteries from. Okay? So Nipsey Hussle was removed on March 31st for the moon goddess Selene, also known as Luna. But let's delve a little bit deeper, because he was not the first person who's been removed for such a reason and for such a purpose. Now, brothers, I found this very interesting image of Brandon Lee, the late son of the martial arts legend Bruce Lee. As we all know, Brandon Lee also met a very early demise. He was killed on March 31st, the same date as Nipsey Hussle, except he was killed in 1993. And for some reason, they created this picture here with him in front of the moon. Why is that? Because they know that he was sacrificed to the moon goddess. For those of you who don't know, Bruce Lee was sacrificed to Heru. That's why he was removed on July 20th, the day of the Heliacal Rising. You understand? Look up the events that occurred or transpired on July 20th. I'll probably be delving into Bruce Lee far deeper in another video down the line when I get all my information together that I want to present on him. But over the course of the decades, July 20th has been a day of major resonance for the craft and for the quote-unquote powers that be, whether it be the moon landing or the death of Bruce Lee. Just a couple of years ago, I did a video on O.J. Simpson being released from prison. O.J. Simpson is an MK asset. Okay? He's an MK asset. That's why they gave him a 33-year prison sentence. And he did how many years in prison? He did 9 years? Something like that? I believe he was in prison for 9 years after a 33-year prison sentence, and they let him out on July 20th. You understand that, brothers? That's how they play games with you. Once again, Nipsey Hussle was killed at 3:30 p.m. He was shot 6 times. He was 33 years old. That's 666. That's according to the quote-unquote beast or the Baphomet. The coming together, the amalgamation of the horn god, the mother goddess, and their son. That's what it's about. Okay? Now, brothers, this is another person who happened to have been removed on March 31st. To the goddess Selene, the moon goddess. And what is her name, brothers? Selena. Remember that? All you brothers who go back to the late 80s and 90s, y'all know that y'all like Selena. But look at right here. The same themes that I always speak about. The black, the white, and the red. Selena was raised in the programming. You understand that, brothers? They have to be blood-deaded into the industry. They cannot get out. Once they're in, once their family puts them in, her father was most likely her handler, programmer, what have you. Once you're in, you cannot get out. So just the fact that she was killed on March 31st tells you that that was a hit by the craft. The person who removed her, the so-called head of her fan base or her fan club, that wasn't nothing but a Manchurian candidate. That's all that was. That was a Manchurian candidate. The same way when Brandon Lee got removed, they claimed that it was a live bullet in the chamber and they didn't know why. Bullshit. It was time for him to go, according to the ritualistic calendar. Okay, Bruce Lee, going back to him, July 20th, when he was removed, there was actually an event that occurred where the same thing happened to him, where he had brain swelling. It was sometime in May. I believe that they were testing it to see how it was going to work, so that they could prep it for that ritualistic day of July 20th. Brandon Lee was removed on March 31st. Selene or Selena removed on March 31st for the moon goddess, Selene or Luna. Once again, we see the checkerboard floor. What did we see with the album cover for Nipsey Hussle? The black, the white, and the red. And the credo is Victory Lap. And they have that. And they have the checkered flag that they wave, right? The checkered flag is one of the emblems now for quote-unquote Nipsey Hussle. A lot of these people think that the checkered flag represents the concept of the victory lap, meaning a car race. No, the checkered flag, the reason why they're trying to align that with Nipsey Hussle is because of the checkered floor. Once again, look at the floor that Selena is standing on. You understand that, brothers? Unfortunately for Selena and a lot of these other people, they're raised up in the industry. Selena was like Aaliyah and Brandy and so on and so forth. Many of these other assets, Britney Spears, who were raised up in the industry, who really didn't have an option, unfortunately for them. But that's pretty much it on this video, brothers. Once again, I've explained my position, why I know that Nipsey Hussle was removed for the moon goddess, and it happens all the time. Okay. That's why the scriptures tell us not to venerate or to worship the bodies of the heavens, meaning the planets, the sun, the moon, etc. Because that's what they do in this society. They just have this facade of atheism. They have this facade of science. Oh, we don't believe in gods and goddesses and blah, blah, blah. We believe in science. All that's bullshit. Most of these fake theories that they concoct and develop is so that they can create this exterior, this veneer of being rationale based, when in reality they still adhere to the principles of the Canaanite religion, of the Kemetic religion. Okay, so now I'm really just going to end the video with this image right here to once again try to sear it into into the consciousness of some of you brothers who might have a hard time grasping what I'm stating, even though I think that I'm being very meticulous. As we can see here, we have Lauren London atop the white horse, sitting side saddle, or even just sitting regular saddle. She's still representing the horse goddess or the moon goddess in her horse altar, Selene. And she's there to signify that the life of Mr. Nipsey Hussle is coming to an end, whether it was beknownst to her or unbeknownst to her. I'm not saying that she necessarily knew. All I'm saying is that if she did know, it wouldn't shock me at all. Wouldn't shock me one bit. And also expect for her career to skyrocket, especially over the next 3 to 5 years. Expect to see her in a lot more projects now. Not saying that she was in on it necessarily, but wouldn't shock me. But anyway, peace.